But he's so over the top in some of these scenes. And this movie, and there's a scene when they have the food fight, and it's like, and man, it's so Nickelodeon-esque, you know what I mean? Like, it makes you feel like that Lil Romeo has 2 cameos in this movie. I mean, this is so obviously the Disney company trying to rip off what Nickelodeon was doing at the time. But the movie, as flawed as it is, it's really good. For those of you who don't know what the movie is, I'll explain it. I'll give you the brief synopsis, okay? Max Keeble plays this kid who wants to be the coolest guy ever, but he's a geek. And he finds out, and he goes to his first day of middle school with his 2 friends. And it's the worst day ever. Worst first day ever. And then when he gets home, he finds out he has to move, and he's moving at the end of the week. And he realizes, you know, if I'm moving at the end of the week, why don't I do all these pranks for all these teachers because everyone treats me like crap? I'm going to make them come after me, but I'm not going to be here. And that's the beauty of it. But at the end of the movie, towards the end of the week, he's like, we're not moving? And he doesn't know what to do. So this movie, it's so wrapped up in Nickelodeon, even though it's a Disney flick. I like this movie. It's got flaws, yes, big time. It's a kid's movie. But I like it. It brings back those memories of me being a kid and loving Nickelodeon stuff. And if you guys saw this movie, I'm pretty sure you guys feel the same way about it. I really like this movie. So, yeah, Max Keeble's big move definitely won. Next one. Spy Kids. This is the greatest kid movie of my time. I can't explain it, it just is. This movie came out in March of 2001. I was 8. I was into Nickelodeon big time at this point, and they were advertising this movie to the madness. I mean, big time madness. And I had to see this because this movie looked like it had everything. It had gadgets, it had jetpacks, it had, you know, kids saving their parents. It had this weird imagery, and it's like, I gotta see this. And I pleaded with my parents to take me to go see this, and they saw the ads for it, and they didn't want to go see this. They didn't. So my dad caved in, and he took me to go see it. And man, was it the most fun I've ever had at the theater at that time. I mean, okay, first of all, I gotta say, I had a huge crush on Alexa Vega, but who didn't? Okay, come on, obviously. But she was one of the main reasons why I wanted to go see this, because I thought she was so hot. I did. Like, she's like a couple years older than me, but I really thought she was hot. So, that's one thing. The second thing is this. I went in to go see this movie. I knew a lot of people in this movie, actually. I mean, I didn't know who Antonio Banderas was, and the kids were, you know, they were practically the stars of the movie, but they were like newcomers. I knew who Cheech Marin was, I knew who Alan Cumming was, I knew who Tony Shalhoub was, and Terry Hatcher, Robert Patrick from T2. Like, all these people. I knew a lot of the antagonists, actually. All these people are pretty much the antagonists of the movie. And so I went in to go see this movie, and I remember when we were in the lobby of the theater, my dad constantly kept asking me, he's like, what's this movie even about? Because my dad had to sit through it too. He didn't want to see it. It was a movie made for kids, but he didn't want to see it. And he kept asking me, what's this movie about? What's it about? And the best thing I could come up with, because you have to remember, this was at a time when the internet wasn't that well advanced as it is today. So I just repeated what I heard in the ads. I'm like, Dad, it's a movie where these 2 kids, their parents are spies, and they get taken by this evil genius, and the kids have to go rescue them. They gotta save their parents. Pretty much the Jimmy Neutron thing. I mean, like, Jimmy Neutron practically did the same thing later, but they were already working on that prior to this, so it doesn't matter. But anyway, I went to go see this movie, and man, was it awesome. I mean, like these kids, they had the jetpacks, and they're flying through, and like, they're flying through the city, and it's like, oh man, like, it's every kid's fantasy, this movie. And, you know, Roger Ebert praised this film when it came out. I mean, this movie has like 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. Thank God, because this is a unique, original, really good movie. There are some things I will say about this film that kind of skeeved me, much like Beetlejuice when I saw this for the first time. There is a lot of weird, and if you guys have seen this movie, you know what I'm talking about. There's a lot of weird imagery in this film. It's like if Tim Burton did acid. That's the best I can say it. There's a lot of creepy imagery in this film, especially with Alan Cummings' TV show, Floop's TV show. There's a lot of weird shit going on in that. I mean, it's like out there, but it adds to the uniqueness of the film, in my opinion. That's what I like about it. This is the movie that introduced me to Robert Rodriguez as a filmmaker. He's a visionary. He can make a movie. Not all the time, because I've seen some of the movies he's done, but this movie is definitely up there. Not only is he good as a filmmaker, this is something else he's good at, and this makes a lot of sense. He's really good with the music choices that he puts in his films. Very good with that. I heard Quentin Tarantino one time say that he helped him work out with the music on Kill Bill Volume 2, I think, or something like that, and because he was a big fan, and I think he helped work out some of the music for that. The music in this movie is so memorable, right down to Danny Elfman's main score, with the Spy Kids theme, you know, like that. You remember that. I remember them having Carmen and Junie having the jetpacks and flying around and that music playing, and it gets you so hyped up for that scene. I remember the scene, that one scene that makes them look like badasses when they're when the two kids are walking out of the department store and they put those glasses on, and you're like, it's just awesome music going on, and it makes them look like badasses. It's just awesome. I remember that. I remember there's a lot, like, once they get to the castle, there's a lot of weird imagery going on, like I said before, especially when they go into the virtual room. I mean, it's just creepy at times, even for a kid's movie. But it's not just for kids, it's for adults too. There is some stuff in this movie that makes you feel like a kid, I will say, like, not make you feel like a kid, but like stuff intended for kids. But it's much more than that. This movie still does hold up. Some of the CGI doesn't, because you gotta remember, it was the times, it was 2001. People were taking advantage of CGI left and right big time at that point. Some of it does hold up, some of it doesn't. When they get to the safe house, that's every kid's fantasy. There's gadgets left and right. They got the watch, you know, I mean, and oh man. Like, and the thumbs are walking by, and they infiltrate the castle, and they got the world's smallest cameras, and oh man, like, it just brings back so many memories, that film. It just does. And Spy Kids 2, I'll say a quick thing about Spy Kids 2 for a second. Spy Kids 2 was just as good, but it wasn't what Spy Kids was. It wasn't. The first one was just so freaking good. And the second one was kind of like that. It was good to see Carmen and Junie come back again, and all those characters come back again. The third one, I didn't like that much, and the fourth one is, I've said this before, dog shit. I've said that before on the show already. But Spy Kids, it's pure childhood to me. It really is. And if you were 8 years old, and you were a boy, and you saw that movie, you got into it. I think you did. I can't be alone in that, because that movie, I still love that movie. It's on Netflix. I mean, I've been watching it recently on Netflix. I haven't seen it in a long time. It still holds up. A lot of the stuff still does. I have it on video cassette, actually. I have the first one on video cassette and the second one on DVD. I don't own the third one. I don't own that, and I don't own the fourth one. No, God, no. Why would I own the fourth one? So that's my view on Spy Kids. Huge part of childhood. Next movie. James and the Giant Peach. Now, this is the other Tim Burton movie I was talking about that Tim Burton worked on. He didn't direct it. As I've said before in the Big Eyes review, he just produced it. This movie is pure childhood to me, this film. Now, I didn't grow up with Nightmare Before Christmas. Even though that was my time, I didn't watch that movie until years later. I didn't grow up with that. This one I did. And I still love this movie. A lot of stuff in this movie does not add up, and I know it doesn't. The Nostalgia Critic reviewed it like 3 to 4 years ago, and I laughed so hard at that review because he is right about a lot of things, but still, this movie, oh my god. Once James goes from being a human into that Tim Burton stop-motion animation, that's when the film begins. At least for me, okay? when he's with Mr. Centipede and Mr. Earthworm and Mrs. Ladybug and Miss Spider, and it's like, oh man, and they get it, and the Peach is rolling down, and they got the giant robotic shark in the ocean, and it's like, oh man, I fell in love with this movie. I still love the stop motion animation. I still think that holds up. I mean, it's Tim Burton and Henry Selick. It's the guys that did Nightmare Before Christmas. I still like this movie. The ants are like freaking whacked. I mean, like, they should be like put in jail or something like that. Something I didn't pick up on as a kid because I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about, the bugs and everything, when he's with them, and the glowworm and old green grasshopper. Yeah, I remember all these guys. And Randy Newman does the songs, and I like the songs. I do. I like that song at the end credits, the Good News song. I like that. That's a good song. I like that one. I like the song We're Family, me and you. I love that song. That's a good one. There's a couple of good songs. That's the life for me. Yeah, I remember all these. I still have this movie on video cassette, and I still watch it. Siskel and Ebert loved it. They gave it 2 thumbs up. This is a movie where, it's like the typical story of like a boy who is dreaming of more and wants more, and he finds these friends who are bugs in the Peach, and he gets inside the Peach. I mean, it's based off the book by Roald Dahl, the guy that wrote Willy Wonka and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the book, and Matilda, and, George's Marvelous Medicine. That was my favorite book. They never made that into a movie, I don't think. But I really like this. I really like this movie. It's just childhood. I loved Richard Dreyfuss as the Centipede character. I loved Mr. Centipede. He always had that hat and that cigar. He would always smoke that cigar. I remember that. Yeah, he would do that. I just like this movie a lot. I really do. I like a lot of scenes in this movie. There's a scene where they tie the seagulls to the Peach to make it fly. There's a scene where they finally get to New York. The thing with the rhino, that still doesn't make any sense, and I didn't care about that as a kid. I never thought about that in the story. Major problem in the story. It doesn't make any sense at all, and the critic tackled on this. It doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. But that's not what I'm there for. I'm there for the relationship between James and the bugs. Like, that's where the movie is, because the bookends of the film is the actor who plays James as a human. But in the middle, like a good 50 minutes of the movie in the middle is him as stop motion and the bugs are there and everything. And that was the movie, and especially at the end of the movie. But it's still a good movie. It's a great family movie. There's stuff in it that might not be for... It's PG rating, but it still brings back a lot of memories of me living in my first house. I mean, I was 3 years old when this came out, and I watched it all the time as a kid. I still watch it. It's still a good movie. Yeah, James and the Giant Peach, totally, definitely on that list. Next one. The Wizard of Oz and 101 Dalmatians. And the reason I put these two back to back is for one reason and one reason only. The villains in these movies are having so much fun and they're so over the top that I love them. Seriously, when I was a kid and I saw The Wizard of Oz for the first time, I don't know why everyone is terrified of Margaret Hamilton as the witch. Every time she came on the screen, I went nuts. I loved her performance. I did. I loved every time she came on. I'll never forget it, okay? When I would watch The Wizard of Oz on video cassette as a kid, every time that tornado happened and she was riding on that bicycle and the bicycle forms into the broomstick and she would do that laugh, man, I can't tell you how many times I tried to imitate that. I just loved her so much in that movie. Now, not to say I didn't love everybody else. I mean, Judy Garland and Burt Lahr and... oh, crap. I keep forgetting the other actors' names. Frank Morgan, I think, was the wizard. And Billy Burke was Glinda the Good Witch. Yeah, the other two. The Scarecrow and the Tin Man, I keep forgetting their names. And I shouldn't. I keep forgetting their names. I forget what their names were. But anyway, I really like all the characters in this movie, but every time Margaret Hamilton came on as the witch, I mean, she was just loving every minute. I mean, she was perfect for that role. Like, no one could ever top her on that. No one can. No matter how many reboots or remakes they make of The Wizard of Oz or whatever, like, that will always be her performance. I mean, she was just loving every minute of what she does in that movie. She was really enjoying it. And the same goes for Glenn Close as Cruella de Vil in 101 Dalmatians. I just loved her performance. Whenever she came on the screen, she was just so much in love with what she was doing. I loved her for doing that. She had that black and white, you know, crazy hairdo and everything, and she was always on the phone with, you know, Mr. Skinner. I'll never forget that one scene in the movie when she's on the phone with Mr. Skinner and she's talking to him, and she's like, poison them, drown them, bash them on the head. I mean, she was just getting into it. And that laugh she does, I mean, much like Margaret Hamilton in The Wizard of Oz, it's the same thing. And I just, oh, man.